feel like a lot of podcasts kind of start developing their own podcast lore at some point.
Lore?
Like canon, podcast canon, lore, you know.
Like history?
Yeah. And so...
Inside jokes?
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, this is only our 11th episode, so it's not like we've been going on that long. But last week we talked about how we recorded after a power outage and all of the hijinks that went on during that. Lo and behold... 7 days later, the very next Saturday, what happens?
Well, there was another power outage. Only this time, thankfully, it wasn't at the house, but I was out at my local hair salon with my stylist to get my collar done. So picture me in the style. Everybody knows that you never look uglier than when you're sitting in the stylist chair with your hair all back and the cape on. So just get that image in your mind. I have a full head of foils for the dudes that listen and might not know what foils are. That's what gives us blondes some nice highlights.
Just think like baked potatoes.
Yeah, or like burrito. Like, okay, I could conceal like 50 burritos in my hair. So I have a full head of foils going on. Unfortunately, no burritos and the power flickers. My stylist and I looked at each other like, oh, it's not even that windy outside. We knew it was going to be another windy day, but we're like, okay, well, maybe it'll come back on. Then it flickered again, and then it went off. And then she got a notice that it was not going to be back on until about 3:30 that afternoon. And keep in mind, my appointment was at 10, so I'd say the power probably went off maybe close to 10:30, 11. So a new experience for me was, you know, we were able to finish the collar process because that doesn't require any electricity. So she took the foils out, she put the toner in, we washed it.
Like for printers?
No, not for printers. So what is toner? Name that episode of Friends where Phoebe works as a telemarketer. Whole other episode.
It's the one with Jason Alexander, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But different toner for your hair. My fellow blondes know they usually do a toner on after you get your hair colored to keep it, you know, from going brassy. But so I get to just walk out for the first time ever at a salon with a completely, you know, wet head. I look like a drowned rat.
And I just want to note, this denied me breakfast.
Yes, it did. Daniel and I were going to eat at the Bob Evans and do an out-to-eat breakfast together, which the Bob Evans also didn't have power because it was kind of in the same area. So we didn't get to do breakfast. And then I told him, I'm like, well, I'm not going to breakfast with sopping wet hair. And I want to see what might, because anybody that's ever gotten their hair colored, you can't really see how the color looks till you dry it. And one of the best parts, I know my ladies agree with me, maybe even some dudes out there, one of the best parts about going to the salon is when they style the hair for you. You want to understand because I do your hair with a buzz cut and a razor with a guard on. But one of the best things is getting your hair styled. So I had to come home with sopping wet head of hair and blow dry my hair myself. I never blow dry my hair. I'm so lazy. I just let it air dry all the time. So I got to blow dry it, and I think the color turned out pretty good. But it's almost as if you predicted that what's going to happen next weekend? Are we going to lose power again or this weekend?
I was so hyped up for bacon and eggs. I was probably going to get pancakes.
Yeah.
I never eat pancakes.
I was going to get my
eat
blueberry
pancakes,
hotcakes.
and I was going to get some hash browns.
They even have good iced coffee there.
I was going to just get black coffee, and it wasn't even going to be morning. But that's
it's like a nice brunch.
That's the beauty of Bob Evans
lunch.
is you can go there any time of day and get breakfast food.
All day breakfast.
So,
but speaking of good food, you know what else has really good food? Baseball parks.
Baseball parks do have good. Most of them have good food. I guess I haven't been to most of them.
Really good food. Well, we've been to the best one in Major League Baseball, which is PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Even my friends that don't even like the Pirates, if you've been there, everybody agrees it's the best one. And I actually think we've been to what a lot of people rank up in this as the second best one, Petco.
Yeah,
in beautiful San Diego.
I've been to the one that they played opening day at.
Yes.
Great American Great American Ballpark.
I mean, you can get a lot of home runs there. Anyway, I'll give it to the Reds. They do quite a production for their opening day. I feel like the Pirates have played the Reds on opening day several times the past few years. In fact, was the last time the Pirates had opening day at PNC Park when we got to go? Because even the commentators like Greg Brown were making a joke about how it must be a rule that the Pirates always have to be on the road for opening day.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. When we went to opening day in Pittsburgh, it was super cold. It was like snowing, right? pretty sure there was snow on the ground.
Snow that day.
Didn't snow at the game. And we're like, Daniel, I remember, was like, well, I'm going to be fine with just a long sleeve shirt. We had to like buy you a jacket, which you wear all the time now.
Yeah.
But opening day.
I think that the Pirates and the Reds have to play each other opening day because misery loves company.
I guess so. Two terrible teams playing some terrible baseball. But the Pirates did win on opening day. So for one magical day,
What'd
first
they
place
do
Buccos.
the two next games?
And then they lost the next two against the lowly Reds. Every time I hear Reds fans gripe about their team and like how they're so depressed, I'm like, hello, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah, the Pirates are pretty much terrible. You can never question my loyalty if you just take a look at my sports teams and yours, really. Let's see here. WVU. Need I say more? The Pirates. Well, we had a good 3 years, right? We had a good run.
Yeah, like a decade ago.
3. I know. Can you believe that? The 2013 magical season was 10 years ago. Like, it's starting to get like, am I going to have to go another 10 before I see them make the playoffs?
Probably.
Insane.
Seems likely.
I remember watching I grew up going to Pirates games. I blame my father for putting this in my DNA. That's why I like this terrible team. But I always loved going to the games, watching the Pirate Parrot. And they were, like, good in the early 90s. I vaguely remember that. So that 2013 season for me was just chef's kiss. I remember I cried when I knew the Pirates were going to finish over 500 because it had been 20 years since they had a winning season, playoffs aside. And then, of course, we had 2014, beautiful year. 2015, Jake Arrieta, but yeah, opening day, big event. We don't talk a lot about sports on here, but that's a major sporting event against our little NL Central foes, the Reds. The Reds took the series, but the Pirates, at least we won opening day, and we got a win. And what else did we get to see? Who's back now?
Andrew McCutcheon's back.
Andrew McCutcheon is back.
And that was good.
That was good. I'm not going to lie. It did bring a little bit of a tear to my eye. Seeing him in that Pirates uniform again. Probably not the reaction I had on Twitter the day when I saw that it was official and he was coming back and I like sobbed uncontrollably. That was a fun day, right?
It was great for me. I know.
And I kept playing Return of the Mac like around the house. So he looked good. O'Neal Cruz hit a homer. That was really nice.
I don't know who anybody else on the team is because we watched so little last year.
I know. It's hard to watch, and last summer was so busy. We're hoping that we can get to some games this summer to, if anything, even if I'm watching crappy baseball, eat that good baseball food.
If you're watching, I don't care if I'm watching crappy baseball, if I'm at a nice stadium.
Yeah, a beer, maybe a hot dog, crab fries, which don't have crabs in them. I don't know why they're called that.
I could go for Permanis right now.
But I'll definitely say I would really like. Oh yeah, Permanis would be so good. Pirates baseball, still looking forward to it. I'm going to continue to gaslight myself and say like, hey, maybe we will be decent this year. Maybe do you think we could finish at 500?
I guess anything is possible.
Anything is possible when you just believe. Which team do I dislike most in the NL Central though? Easy.
Oh. Really? I don't think it's easy. You hate them all.
I do hate them all. But sorry. But the Cubs, for sure. Cannot stand the Cubs. Don't like the Cubs fans.
That's fair.
Maybe some of you are nice.
But then every time you play the Brewers, you're like, ugh.
Ugh, I hate the Brewers. But I feel like we at least have things in common with the Reds in that we're both terrible teams. Let's see here. The Cardinals, they're always good. And we can all like agree that we don't like the Cardinals. But anyway, opening day, fun events. Glad the Pirates at least gave me one win. What about you?
Oh, you'll get a few more. I mean, not a ton, but you'll see a few more.
Yeah, never question our loyalty when we're Pirates fans. So what else? Speaking of loyalty and being good people, what about our Bachelor?
That's a terrible segue because none of that stuff is true about any of these people.
The girls were nice on the show.
I suppose.
So the Bachelor finale aired last week, and again, were good decisions made?
No.
No.
Can we talk about how I knew who was going to win from the set piece?
Yeah, Daniel noticed details on The Bachelor that I didn't even notice. So go ahead.
The first girl comes out there,
Gabby,
and what she walks through the mud and the forest and everything, and she gets out to the beach. And what did I say? I said, well, they at least could have timed it with the tides being in, because she walked in out there and it was just this muddy mess. There were boats laying around out in the water.
And we as viewers knew when you're the first one out that you're not going to win.
Fair. But have they ever done a sloppy on you?
No.
Okay. So that was the giveaway as well. But for her, okay, I'm trying to role play here and take it from her perspective.
And she already kind of knew she probably wasn't going to win. She even made the comment. Was like, you better not let Katie step in this mud, but
she walks out there and it's like the whole area looks terrible, and Hope is trying to watch the show, and I'm sitting there going, they could have at least timed it to with the tides come in, and then I said, oh, I bet they timed it so that the girl that he actually picks, the water's in.
I'm like, well, I'm trying to watch these people have a breakdown on TV.
What happened when the other girl walked out?
The tide was up. Gorgeous set.
They even put him on a boat. The boat that was laying there next to it.
Katie.
In the first shot with Gabby, the boat that was laying there half sideways because the water was gone. They got on that boat, and I was like, well,
how do you notice these things? I talked to one of my friends that watches The Bachelor and was like, Daniel was pointing out the tides. She didn't notice it either.
It's the same way I ruined outdoor shots for you on TV.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Or where
hello,
people are talking and you're like, oh, they dubbed that.
Listeners to our podcast, I'm going to ruin television for you.
Yeah, he will.
This is mostly sitcom television. I think mostly it's TV. Movies do a much better job of this than TV. If the actors are on a outdoor environment,
and not a set,
but like an actual outdoor environment. So
like
think
at Disney, where they film
Modern
episodes at Disney World.
Yeah, or Modern Family when they're walking around that neighborhood area. Okay, watch their lips. It will almost always be off because the sound that they record can't be used because it's terrible for whatever reason. Because one, they want it because it's a television show. They want to keep the sound, the mic. They don't want mics in the shot, so they don't have lav mics on their lapels.
Yeah.
Or big boom mics over top, and so it's really difficult to record sound, and so it ends up they have to go to the booth afterwards and dub over it. And
especially when they're in a public place, like Modern Family filmed at Disneyland. Yeah. We talked about the middle episode at Disney World. We'll do a special about our favorite episodes.
It's funny because The Bachelor actually doesn't have this problem because they're not trying to keep that that illusion.
They do wear mics.
So they just wear mics right there because everybody and nobody
even
thinks
on
anything
Bachelor
of
in Paradise, the guys wear all these. I was always wondering why the guys had all these stupid necklaces on. That's their mics because they can't hook it to their baby.
So anyways, those of you listening, next time you're watching TV, watch for these things and then let me know how I've ruined television for you.
But yeah, Mr. Zach picked Katie. We all kind of knew that he was going to pick Katie. I felt like it was very obvious. But poor Gabby, he should have just let her go early. He knew that he was going to pick Katie. And on the After the Final Rose, which is taped live, they were all like, when did you know it was going to be Katie? And he said, well, I knew after our last chance date. Unless it was shown to me out of order, which I believe somebody asked Zach about. He's like, oh, you'll have to. And his answer was like, oh, the magic of editing, which still wasn't, in my opinion, a direct yes or no answer. Gabby's last chance date was shown to at least us on TV as taking places after Katie's. And what a lot of the leads have done in recent years is when they know, they don't put them through. And I'm like, I guess the producers can pressure you to do that, but I don't think the producers can just make you do things as clear cut as that.
No.
And she kind of knew too that she wasn't. And like you said, maybe she saw the tide and was like, well, this looks like crap. I know for sure I'm not getting the final.
Well, I wanted to give advice to future Bachelor and Bachelorette contestants. Yeah. Pay attention to your surroundings. To your set dressing.
Which to her credit, she kind of did when they had their open out the door and she walked right in the mud.
They parked Katie in the same spot. She just didn't complain about it.
That's true. But I think Gabby already kind of knew. Yeah.
Pay attention to the surroundings, and they will give away elements of this show to you of what they're thinking, especially that late.
That Zach should have sent Gabby and said, it's not you, and not made her get dressed up and go down and do all the things.
I'm not as familiar with the show as you are, but you've told me that it's been a while since they actually full on just had both of them down at the spot like that.
I think that Michelle did it. I cannot remember. Obviously, Clayton's season was a total disaster and mess, so he didn't. And then Gabby and Rachel's was kind of a mess.
He tried to escape.
What?
Was Clayton the one that tried to escape?
That was Colton.
Why do all these men have these stupid
Clayton was
names?
the one that said he loved, not just slept with that said he loved you. Like, I love you, not I'm falling in love with you to all three women.
I love you.
Home Alone fans. And it was a disaster. I think that Zach was probably what the franchise needed, a very boring, bland guy that probably is going to make it with it. I think he and Katie are going to make it. I don't know. Let's see, Sean Lowe. Who
I thought the most shocking thing of the episode was that they were still together at the final rose ceremony. Or not the final rose ceremony, but the after the rose.
Final rose.
Yeah.
The live event.
Wait, it's called After the Final Rose, not just...
It's called After the Final Rose, and that is always live. Know your terminology.
Next thing you're going to tell me that they have terminology for the people who get on the beach first.
And you know what it is. What is it for the people that show up to Bachelor in Paradise first?
Welcome to First Sand, the Anakin Skywalker Apologist podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is Hope.
Yes.
Bachelor By the way, cold opening for you all. Welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about TV we watch. Okay, go ahead. I never did it.
Oh, okay. Moving on. How do you think Zach did as Bachelor now that the season's over?
I mean, again, I haven't watched that many, but like the guy just wasn't engaging to pay attention to.
Boring.
Very boring.
I don't think he treated Gabby very...
No.
He behaved, in my opinion, like his whole like honesty shtick was like...
Was for himself.
Was for himself.
It wasn't for her or anybody else. He's trying his honesty. It was
very selfish, and he did apologize for that after the final rose. But I feel like Gabby said I felt her like I in the past where you have the women that don't get chosen and they're on that stage live. A lot of times they seem mad, kind of annoyed, but like they've moved past it. It's clear to me that she watched those episodes and realized, like, because she even said, like, I'm more upset now than I was then. And she felt like, and I just felt really bad for her.
No, he seems like one of those people who he uses honesty almost as a weapon.
Yeah.
Because he in his mind, he says, well, he has determined in his own mind.
He did it to protect his relationship and Katie's relationship.
If I'm honest with people, then I have no guilt.
Yeah.
And that's not how that works.
Yeah, that's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. But Bachelor's finally over. I'm sure those of you that are like, ugh, they're talking about The Bachelor again. You're probably really glad that we can wrap this up.
I'm with you. Ugh, we're talking about The Bachelor again. At least we get a break.
And we got Bachelorette coming up in June at a new time slot, 9 p.m. with Charity. I hope that...
9 p.m. and 2-hour episodes?
I don't know, probably.
Oh, we got to watch that. We're going to watch that on like Hulu, right? Instead of having to watch it live.
I almost always watch the episodes on Hulu until the last few. I like to watch the...
And that's when they decide to go for a 3-hour show instead of a 2-hour show.
That was kind of insane.
With commercials because you're watching it live. You know what they needed to do? They actually showed us a funny sneak peek clip of Charity's brother, like, undercover for her first night where she meets the men. They should have inserted that clip after they had Gabby upset on stage, because right after they have Gabby, a woman I'm seeing having basically a nervous breakdown on national TV live, and suddenly it was like whiplash, and they're like, okay, now let's roll tape of Zach and Katie getting engaged. And even if I liked Zach, because I do like Katie, it was hard for me to even be like, oh, finally the Bachelor got engaged to his person, and even be excited for them, because it was such a whiplash. Don't you think they should have inserted funny clip in between? That's how I would do it if I was a producer. Yeah, but you got to remember, I will defend the live TV for a minute. They did not know what Gabby, like what...
I'm sure they did. Each contestant's assigned a producer. I'm sure they could see how upset she was. Jesse maybe.
I don't know. Some of it seemed like she was getting upset as she was there talking live.
She kind of was doing what I do.
I mean...
Where the more I talk about it, the madder I get as it's taking place.
I don't know anything. I don't know what you're talking about. This is news. This is news to me.
So for Bachelor in Paradise, which will take place, the good one, the best one, after Bachelorette airs, do we think Gabby's going to go and be first sand?
I hate everything about that term and the fact that I know what it means.
Do you think she's going to go on the show?
I mean, I'm sure ABC will try and convince her to go.
Will go. The third place one?
Yes, they'll get her out there.
I think she should be first sand. Brooklyn, I think she'll be first sand. She was feisty. She seems like she can get catty with some of the girls. But you should be proud that you know these terms.
I'm not. And I never will be.
Sand. Speaking of, back to our Anakin Skywalker and his hatred of sand, let's take us to another Star Wars show that we are currently watching. You want to kick us off?
The Mandalorian. What are we on? Is this episode 4?
I don't
of the
know.
Season?
We're great podcasters.
3 or 4. I don't know.
I mean,
I think that is my struggle to tell you what episode it was is a perfect illumination of just my like slogging with this season right now.
I don't think this episode was that bad. We got back to Coruscant for some to check
and
in
I could
with
hear the collective sigh of all the fans that don't care about Coruscant.
Yay, hear my collective, yay. But who showed up in The Mandalorian? Okay, Don Cheadle did not show up in The Mandalorian. Because Don Cheadle's not in Mean Girls.
Lore.
But Tim Meadows, who is in Mean Girls and is not Don Cheadle, shows up in The Mandalorian. So once again, I get to make a Mean Girls reference. And his character, it was just like a random character that just like worked, kind of like was working for the New Republic, all that fun stuff.
Was unhelpful in every way possible.
Very unhelpful, kind of like the principal in Mean Girls.
Yeah,
not
he
helpful.
Was. You could almost say it's the same character.
You could almost say just in maybe another era. I felt like the little battle scene at the end lasted way too long, but according to you, that's what the normies want.
I'll guarantee there were plenty of people that were like,
fine,
oh, yeah, that was a great battle.
It lasted a really long time, and I'm like, I need more discussion. We got to see Apollo Creed again, though.
The elements of a good battle scene.
What's his character's name? Apollo Creed's
Grieve something? I don't know.
We just call him Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for Ivan Drago to show up and them to have a scene together to just make my life complete.
The elements of a good battle scene, like you need to have good action, but it needs to be telling the story during it. And that scene wasn't.
You know what has an elements of a good battle scene? Ivan Drago in the Rocky franchise.
Just Rocky. He was only in Rocky 4. You can't say the whole franchise.
Which is the greatest, the best one of them all. Best training sequence. Emotional gut punch. And that's why I'm so glad that I can see Apollo Creed thriving on The Mandalorian.
Yeah, he's doing well.
Basically, the way this conversation is going off the rails just shows you how we feel about The Mandalorian right now.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
It's fine. It's not bad. It's not the best.
Do you think...
It's perfectly entertaining.
Hold on. Now, I do have a question for you. Do you think the Armorer allowing Bo-Katan to walk around without her helmet on at the end is going to cause a rift?
I don't really know. I think they told her to do that.
She told her to do it, yes. To convince the rest of the Mandalorians.
I think Bo-Katan has her own agenda. I think that I've never trusted the head lady.
The Armorer, yeah.
The Armorer, is that her name? I just call her the head honcho. I've never trusted their angle. So right now I'm like, I don't trust anybody but Grogu and Mando.
I agree. I agree with that. I don't think Bo-Katan is there for her. She's there for herself.
Yes.
And the Armorer also has ulterior motives to everything that's going on. And I can see...
The character from Rebels showed up, though.
Oh, yeah, Zeb, real quick.
And yet I still can't get a Satine name drop, who's Bo-Katan's sister. They can't give me that Clone Wars breadcrumb, but you get Zeb from Rebels. Not bitter or anything.
Nerd.
I guess we are nerds.
No, I was talking specifically to you.
Oh, to me?
She was in, like...
I wear it with...
6 episodes of the Clone Wars. Zeb was in every episode of Rebels.
Whoa! You don't respect Satine. Everybody go watch the Clone Wars. This woman is incredible. Obi-Wan's boo, by the way, if you didn't know. Canon, because the Clone Wars is canon.
I never said it wasn't canon.
And I'm still not convinced that the nephew or whatever is not his son.
You're going down a deep Reddit rabbit hole on that one now.
Right.
So,
speaking of some other space shows.
Yeah, Star Trek Picard. This was the 7th episode, and I remember that very specifically. And it's very good, and I enjoy it greatly. I don't think as much like...
Not as much wow factor this past week, but a perfectly fine episode.
Yeah, and I think we're in for 3 episodes here to close it out. They're going to be very good, and I'm excited. At this point, any trepidation I had about this is gone. Like I'm strapped in and ready to go.
But you are a little annoyed with me that you're going to have to wait. You cannot cheat. You cannot Picard cheat on me next week when I'm out of town. It's not the finale. It's the second to last one. You're going to have to wait
That's
for
even
me.
worse.
You're going to have to wait for me. You can't cheat. You can't Picard cheat on me. Just because I cheated on you and saw Ant-Man doesn't mean that you can stab me in the back with this.
I'm really going to want to watch it.
Well, you're really going to have to wait.
We'll see.
You would cheat on me on my birthday?
Does it come out on your birthday? Your birthday's not on... What day's your birthday?
It comes out on my birthday eve.
Oh, I forgot that the celebrations of your birthday are a fortnight before and after.
That's the way it is. It's my birthday month, baby.
So, yeah. Anyways, if you're not a Star Trek fan, Picard's great. I don't know if I would recommend it for you, but I'm enjoying it greatly.
But you know what we would recommend if you want to get into Star Trek? We finally have a premiere date for Strange New Worlds Season 2, June 15th.
Excellent.
You really like that one, right?
I love that one, yes.
Do you think that people that have never seen a Star Trek show would be into Strange New Worlds?
I think that a complete Star Trek novice who's never seen Star Trek or has maybe seen an episode here or there is just tangentially, aware of what Star Trek is. If you have ever been interested in getting into it, I think Strange New Worlds is a great...
People are interested in getting into Star Trek.
Hey, you never know.
You never know.
I think Strange New Worlds is a perfect place to get into it because it is very much like the old show, like The Next Generation and the original show. It is episodic.
But it feels more modern,
But
too.
it's much more modern in its pacing and its storytelling. And there are elements that go through the season. So it's not like each episode is its own contained story, but there are things that get sprinkled in there. It looks great. It's got a great cast. If you've ever been Star Trek curious, I think Strange New Worlds is a great place to start.
And we're getting Paul Wesley again from the Vampire Diaries. So if you watch the Vampire Diaries and you want to know what Paul Wesley is up to, go watch him on. He is in the finale of Strange New Worlds Season 1, right? Or the second to last episode.
It's the last episode.
Yeah, he shows up in that, but he is going to be in more episodes in Season 2. Playing
We don't really know how
Mr.
many yet.
James T. Kirk, right?
Yes. He's probably what I'm most nervous about.
And he is what I am most excited about.
That's enough Star Trek and Star Wars. So Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
This is the third episode.
We just watched the third episode. Okay, is anybody else getting their episodes early?
We got it on Tuesday again.
Again, it was such a
blessing. And it was a blessing.
A true blessing. Because we have the Wednesday show, we have the Thursday show. It's just real nice. And we're like, let's check to see if we're going to get it again. And we did, and it was just, it was great.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of notes about Ted Lasso because I don't want to I know this is a spoiler podcast, but I don't want to completely give everything away. But we had a lovely chat at the beginning of the episode about Julie Andrews. They made a Mary Poppins reference, and then I said out loud, I'm like, what about the Princess Diaries? And I believe it was Roy Kent that was like, yeah, the Princess Diaries. Great movie. I think they actually are going to make a Princess Diaries 3. At least that's the big rumor.
Why?
Why not is the better question. Iconic franchise, iconic movies.
What do you think about Zava?
I don't care for him. I feel like team chemistry is a big thing, and I have played on sports teams myself. Even in like work environments, that chemistry is always important, and I feel like he is all about himself. Yes, they're winning games.
Yes, that's obvious.
Yes, it's exciting, and yes, this is going to give, Jamie has to combat with the fact of, he's not the superstar, but it seemed like he and Roy, Roy's like, I can help you, that it's going to inspire him to work harder. But I do see this going south. I see something going down with it towards the end of the season.
I've been trying to, be in the mind of the writers to figure out where they're going with that and what their
maybe they'll do the opposite.
What their end game is for Zava and that stuff. And I'm stumped about where they're trying to go with it right now. I could see him getting hurt. Like maybe they get to a important game late and he gets hurt.
Maybe it's not even anything shady. Maybe Rupert doesn't try to snatch him or anything. Maybe he does just get injured.
I don't know that it'll be anything shady because I don't think he can be snatched with the contract with the way the contract works at this point.
I just don't. I felt like a lot of the things that the lessons he especially tried to teach Jamie early on was about how you need to be a team player, and suddenly they're all just letting Zava do what he wants. Like he came in and rearranged their game plan. So I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, but Ted
if
is
it's going
off.
to inspire Jamie to work harder.
Yes. And that's a good thing, but Ted's off his game right now.
Yeah, because
Ted
he's
is
dealing
not
with personal issues.
Yeah, Ted doesn't have his head in things right now, and I think he's getting clouded too by the owner's desire to beat Rupert.
Yeah.
And just kind of going with it at that point. And even first episode, he was asking, "Why am I here?"
We haven't really had a lot of Nate scenes.
No, we haven't. I think that might be backloaded a little bit. I think I imagine.
Do you still think they're going to redeem him?
I mean, those two teams are going to play each other at some point.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's going to be a big episode. Like that game may just be the episode.
Do you still think they're going to redeem him?
I think so.
I think so too.
I think
they're
so.
gonna have to work hard.
I think so because they're following that Star Wars original trilogy format, and I also think so because I think that's just the show.
You almost said Star Trek.
I did almost say Star Trek.
So many star shows.
I think that's just the format of the show. I think that is like.
I think we're gonna end on like a feel good note. I really do.
Yes, I agree. It's gonna be a feel good note. Maybe not for everybody, but in general, it's going to be a positive feeling of the ending of the show. I'm very confident in that.
I'm excited again to see Roy and Jamie working together because Roy's going to help them. I would say, as much as I love Roy Keeley relationship, my favorite relationship on that show is the friendship and the bond between Jamie and Roy.
Yeah.
I really like how you saw how they started off like can't stand each other. And they've just really come together, and I love watching like the romances and stuff like that bloom, and just friendships, seeing the truth. And that's one of my favorite things about Ted Lasso is while they do have some romantic relationships, is I feel like the friendships are very important. Like Ted and Rebecca, all the friendships are really nice.
And that's one thing for me. I know you like the romantic relationships and the shipping of all that stuff, but I'm not as much into that. But something that really does get me in shows is like people who were at odds with each other coming to a mutual understanding to like each other, even if and not romantically, but just in general coming to respect in one another. I really like that kind of character interplay within shows. So
because that's character evolution, that's growth.
Yep.
Speaking of characters in a show also on Apple TV Plus, what did we finish this weekend?
We finished
Shrinking. I don't want to, because I feel like this show's still kind of fresh out there, so I don't want to completely spoil it for everybody. But
if you like Ted Lasso, go watch it.
Go watch it.
If you like Scrubs, go watch it. If you like good TV and it's like good half an hour episodes, go watch it.
If you like that Ted Lasso vibe where you're going to have the comedy, but still, there's still a little sadness there, this is a show for you. Now, I will say, because I've read some criticisms about its depiction of therapy. I'm going to say you need to take this with a grain of salt. Remember, it is a comedy because it's not the best depiction of therapy. A lot of the therapists on this show, you're kind of seeing their personal lives, and a lot of what they're doing is extremely unethical.
I think it's helpful to understand that, to make you understand that your therapist is just a person with a life.
Yeah. But I wouldn't want people to watch the show and be like, oh, that's exactly how therapy should be, because that's not a proper depiction. But that's not the point. Even though the show's called Shrinking, the point is to see these characters' lives, how they're interacting, how they're moving on. One of my favorite quotes from Mr. Harrison Ford's character named Paul in the show was, I think this is what the quote was. I had Daniel text it to me during the episode. Look, I like your scrunchies. I just don't understand them. And I've got to say, Harrison Ford, I've always loved Harrison Ford. Obviously, he's Han Solo, he's Indiana Jones, but I feel like this show is really depicting his acting chops.
Oh, he's very good in this. Very good.
Very good. From his mannerisms, because his character has Parkinson's.
His character has Parkinson's, and it's early.
But you see the subtle stuff that he's implementing with that character.
And what I think is impressive is sometimes like there at the last episode, they kind of zoomed in on his hand, right, and showed it shaking.
Very subtle.
But it's in the shots where they're not focusing on him, and he's still showing those things.
Yes.
That I think is the impressive part for me when it comes to the acting. Like, he's the third character in the scene, kind of in the background, not really engaged in the scene other than he is just there. And you can, if you watch him, like, he's doing things very subtly to just show that he is struggling with that.
And if you like deadpan humor,
his
character Paul is just chef's kiss.
It is deadpan humor, but I'm going to say again, I think we said this about another show, and I'm going to say it again. We're too dark for this show.
I think we are really dark.
We are dark, and we keep waiting for like the worst possible thing to happen.
I don't want to say right now that I want to give people time to discover Shrinking. There's an incident in the finale, the last episode, that happens. I totally caught that, and you were like, Hope, I think you're being a little too dark, and then it happened. So we'll probably
Then what did you say to me after that happened? We're not going to say what it was because it was the last thing in the show, but it was very dark. And
I don't remember what I said to you.
You looked at me and you were like, I get where she's coming from. And I
understand crazy women is what I said.
You said I understand.
That I would do what she did.
You said, I understand crazy women, and looked right at me. And if you've watched the show to its entirety, you will understand why I like clutched myself for a moment and was worried.
Well, what can I say? We'll probably do a bigger reaction to Shrinking after it's been out for a while and more people can discover that show. But that's definitely one I'd recommend that you pick up to do it.
Especially if you've already got Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
And so you're already watching Ted Lasso.
We get it back like for Ted Lasso. We'll probably, I don't know when the morning show season 3 is supposed to air. That's one I watch that you don't. So we might get rid of it unless that one's set to come soon, and which I haven't heard an official date or anything. I know they've been filming. But yeah, do what we do. Once you get your Apple TV Plus back, check out Shrinking.
We also we watched a movie.
We did watch a movie. I almost forgot to put that on my little producer sheet here. Good job, Daniel.
Hey, I can produce as well.
Not wanting to stress out the crazy woman. But we watched Murder Mystery 2 on Netflix. You had not seen the first Murder Mystery, apparently.
That is correct, yes.
I'm pretty sure I watched the first one on an airplane. I think it was when we flew to Anaheim. Maybe not. I can't remember. But I had seen the first one, and I was always telling you, I'm like, you need to watch the Murder Mystery movie with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. I'm like, it's like a whodunit type movie that we like, and it's funny, cheesy, but fun. Just a fun little, movie to watch. And that'd be my description of the second one. The first one I liked better, but I mean, most of the time you're always going to like the first movie better.
It was fine. It wasn't, like I said.
You told me you liked it. Now you're like, it was fine.
Yeah, it was funny, but it wasn't like the funniest thing I've ever seen. And plus,
I never said it was
we
the
both
funniest
called
thing
the
you've ever
murder.
seen. Oh, yeah, within seconds.
Very early.
But that's the fun of it. That's the fun of these movies.
Figuring it out within the first 10 minutes and then just having to wait as they throw you different.
And watch all the shenanigans. Oh. You liked it more than what Daniel tries to be like the fodder.
You can't see, but I have my nose held high up in the air right now at this moment to turn my nose up at this movie.
Clearly it made an impression enough that you remembered it to talk about it because I forgot. But it was a fun Friday night movie after a very long, emotionally taxing, stressful week. Just fun to unwind with a nice little Netflix comedy and have some pizza. So if you're looking for just a fun movie to watch, wasn't even that long.
Did you say who was in it? It was Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. So,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an Adam Sandler person, you're probably You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston. We like her.
Yeah.
She's cool.
Still looks good. All right. Well, I think that does it for the episode today. Thanks for tuning in. If it's not too much trouble, go into your local app that you watch it from and give us a rating. We would really enjoy that. Plus, at least on Spotify, we have to get to a certain number of ratings before they display to everybody, and I think that's when analytics start kicking in.
Can they comment?
Yeah.
Comment. It was fine.
I'll put that up as the interaction thing for the Spotify episodes, and yeah, just go say it was fine.
It was fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
That's Daniel speak for at least 4 stars.
Oh, have you interpreted that
It was fine. Yes.
What do I say?
You'd be like, it was okay. It was fine. But when you're really excited for something like Picard, you're like, that was awesome. But everything else it's always fine. It was okay.
What do I say if I don't like it?
I don't know. It was crap. I don't know. I hope this podcast episode wasn't crap.
Because
we can't all be winners.
For me, I think if I said it's okay, that's probably like a 3, and if it's fine, that was probably like a 4. If you're going on a 5 scale.
Whereas mine, it was okay, is much lower on the scale.
But mine's not like a perfect bell curve either. Like it takes a lot to get over that 3 hump of fine.
But that's why it always frustrates me, because when you are excited for something, you're always very excited.
That's true.
Anyway, I hope this episode, for me, it was fine. So,
thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope on Twitter @LilRunner or on Instagram @LilRunner1485. And Daniel is on Twitter @TheRealHoboDan. Drop us a line if you like the show or have a question you'd like us to address on a future show. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.